For the longest time, whenever people talked about the best suburb in Las Vegas, the conversation always started in the same two places: Summerlin or Henderson. Those were the default answers. But now that conversation is starting to change because there's another community quietly forcing its way into that debate: Skye Canyon. And what's interesting is this isn't just hype online. You're seeing families, people relocating from California, remote workers, and even locals already living in Vegas moving northwest because they feel this area just offers something different. Newer homes, more space sometimes in some occasions, less chaos, the mountain views are beautiful, trails, parks, and a lifestyle that honestly doesn't even feel like stereotypical Las Vegas. In fact, some people are starting to look at Skye Canyon the same way people looked at Summerlin 15 to 20 years ago. But here's where that debate starts. Some people think this is the future of Las Vegas living. Other people think it's way too far out, too quiet, and too disconnected from the rest of the city. So which one is true? Why are so many people suddenly moving here? Is Skye Canyon actually better than Summerlin or Henderson? Or is this just another overhyped master plan community? Because after spending time out here, I can tell you this area feels very different from what most people picture when they think about living in Las Vegas. A big reason Skye Canyon has exploded in popularity is because it doesn't feel like the version of Las Vegas most people picture in their head. This is not the slot machines at the gas station and palm trees next to stucco walls version of Vegas people expect when they move here. For years, most people automatically focused on Summerlin or Henderson like we talked about. That was basically the Vegas starter pack. But as Summerlin has gotten significantly more expensive and Henderson keeps getting more and more packed, people started looking for communities that felt newer, cleaner, and more lifestyle driven without feeling like they were living in the middle of an organized chaos. And that's where Skye Canyon came in. The community officially broke ground back in 2014 when model homes started rolling out in 2015, and by 2016, residents officially started moving in. Fast forward a few years, and the area really started taking shape once the Skye Canyon Smiths opened in 2018, because suddenly people had groceries, restaurants, coffee spots, and fitness options and everyday conveniences built right into the community. Since then, the area has just kept growing year after year, and you can feel the momentum when you drive through there now. But what really makes Skye Canyon stand out is the lifestyle. The entire community feels intentionally designed around outdoor living, fitness, and community connection. The vibe out here feels way more Colorado or Utah than what most people think of when they hear Las Vegas. Half the time, you feel like somebody dropped a modern mountain suburb into the desert and just said, yeah, let's roll with that. You're tucked against the northwest edge of the valley with direct views of Mount Charleston and the Spring Mountains. And because of the elevation, it even feels slightly cooler out there. Not grab a winter coat cooler, but enough where locals absolutely notice the difference. And the lifestyle itself feels active. You've got places like Skye Canyon Park, Eagle Canyon Park, Sky View Park, walking trails, bike paths, pickleball courts, splash pads, fitness areas. We have outdoor movie nights up there and community events constantly going on. People are actually outside here. It gives the area energy without feeling chaotic. Even visually, the area hits different. Mountain backdrops everywhere, newer architecture, cleaner streets, open views, and quick access to Mount Charleston, where you can literally go from desert scenery to pine trees under an hour, which still throws people off the first time they experience it because they think Vegas is just one giant oven year round. For a lot of people, Skye Canyon feels much closer to the lifestyle they were hoping to find when they first started looking at Las Vegas. If you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, checking out Skye Canyon, or honestly just trying to figure out which area of Vegas actually fits your lifestyle best, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Ryan, and my team and I do this, and we can help you out anytime, right? This is what we do every single day. We help people relocating to Las Vegas narrow down neighborhoods, understand the different parts of the valley, and make sure they end up in an area that actually matches how they want to live. And trust me, every part of Las Vegas feels completely different once you're actually here in person. So, whether you're still months away or just, Hold on one second. Let me give you that again. I have a lot of hiccups this one. Hold on. So, whether you're still months away from moving, just starting your research, or already planning a trip out here, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to answer questions and point you in the right direction and just be a resource however we can. Because here's the thing. Once people actually move into Skye Canyon, there's one part of living here that catches almost everybody off guard. And depending on your lifestyle, it either becomes your favorite thing about the area or the reason you realize pretty quickly this might not be the right fit for you. What catches a lot of people off guard once they move to Skye Canyon is how much their day-to-day routine changes. People are outside all of the time here. Early mornings, you'll see people walking the trails, jogging through the neighborhoods, grabbing coffee at Aspire, riding bikes with their kids, or hanging out at Skye Canyon Park before it even gets too hot. Then around sunset, the whole area kind of resets again. More people outside walking dogs, kids at the parks, pickleball games going, neighbors sitting out front talking. The community just feels active, and that stands out in Vegas. A lot of neighborhoods around the city can feel very drive into your garage and disappear. Skye Canyon doesn't really have that same energy. Part of it is how the community was designed, with the parks, trails, the fitness areas, and Skye Center all connect naturally through the neighborhoods. So people actually use them. Even simple stuff like grabbing groceries or coffee is easy because the Skye Canyon Marketplace is right there in the middle of everything instead of being 20 minutes away. You also notice pretty quickly that the northwest part of the valley has a different atmosphere to it. We've talked about the mountains, and you've got, those views pretty much everywhere, especially with Mount Charleston sitting in the background. And because you're farther northwest and slightly higher in elevation, people out here, will absolutely tell you it feels a little cooler than other parts of Vegas during the summer. The weekends out there just feel different too. A lot of people head up to Mount Charleston, hit the local trails, or take their dogs to the park, grab brunch, or just spend more time outside in general. Which is funny because plenty of people move to Vegas expecting nightlife and pool parties. Then 6 months later, they own hiking shoes and suddenly care about sunrise walks. That's probably the best way to describe Skye Canyon. Your lifestyle out here just naturally becomes a little more outdoors focused without really trying to force it. But once that honeymoon phase wears off, that's when people start figuring out whether Skye Canyon actually fits their life long term. Now, with all of that being said, this is usually the point where people either completely fall in love with Skye Canyon or start realizing it may not fit their lifestyle at all. Because the biggest trade-off with Skye Canyon is location. You are far northwest. It depends on your lifestyle. And that's either the whole reason you move here or the exact reason you end up getting frustrated. If you work remotely, work nearby, or mostly stay on the northwest side of town, this area can make a lot of sense. But if you're constantly driving to the Strip, the airport, Henderson, or Central Vegas all the time, those drives start adding up quickly, especially during traffic. People moving from California laugh at Vegas traffic for about 2 weeks. Then suddenly they're sitting on the 215 complaining with the rest of us. And because the Skye Canyon is still growing, you're also dealing with ongoing developments in certain areas, construction, new phases being built, road work here and there, and none of it is terrible, but it's definitely part of living in a newer, expanding community. So you also don't have the same level of restaurants, nightlife, and entertainment right outside your front door compared to places like Summerlin or Henderson. The area has the essentials and it keeps improving every year. But if you're somebody who wants endless food spots, rooftop bars, casinos, and constant activity 5 minutes away, this might not, be the place for you. This might start feeling a little too quiet for you. That's really what it comes down to. This area is incredible unless your lifestyle does not match it. People who love Skye Canyon usually want the quieter atmosphere, the mountain views, the outdoor lifestyle, and a little separation from that nonstop energy of the city, right? Other people move here and after a few months realize they miss being close to everything. And that's the important thing to understand before moving out to Skye Canyon, right? It's just one of those communities where your experience heavily depends on how you actually live day to day. But here's what's interesting. Even with all of those trade-offs, people are still flooding into this area. And the reason why says a lot about where Las Vegas is heading next. Here's what people get Skye Canyon wrong. Some people hear Northwest Las Vegas and assume this is some hidden cheap part of town where you can get a giant house for nothing. That's not what Skye Canyon is. This is not discount Vegas. In fact, Skye Canyon is typically priced above the overall Las Vegas median. Right now, the median home prices in Las Vegas are sitting somewhere around the mid to high 400s, depending on the source you're looking at, while Skye Canyon homes are typically hitting closer to the 500,000s and sometimes even getting into the 600,000s depending on the community and the size of the home, right? So there's a lot depending on a bunch of different factors, right? Neighborhood, lot upgrades, and builder. So if your goal is simply finding the cheapest possible house in Vegas, this probably isn't where you end up. But that's also why a lot of people misunderstand the appeal of this area, because the people moving to Skye Canyon usually are not comparing it to older parts of Las Vegas. They're comparing it to Summerlin. They're comparing it to newer lifestyle communities in California, right? They're comparing it to places where a new master planned home with mountain views, trails, parks, community amenities, and updated construction could easily cost dramatically more. Once people start making those comparisons, right, Skye Canyon starts making a lot more sense, especially for people relocating from Southern California. Somebody coming from Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego, or even parts of Denver can look at Skye Canyon and feel like they're getting a newer home, new infrastructure, more community amenities, and a cleaner overall environment without crossing into the pricing they're used to back home. And that's really the key with Skye Canyon. The value is not just the house itself, it's the version of Las Vegas you're buying into. Now, to be clear, the lots are not massive, all right, in most of these newer communities. This is not some ranch style, move to Vegas and buy 5 acres situation. You still have neighbors, you still have HOA communities, but compared to some of the tighter, older, and more expensive parts of the valley, a lot of people feel like the overall experience lines up better with what they're paying. That's why Skye Canyon connects so well with families, remote workers, military families, and people relocating from higher cost states. A lot of people look at this area and feel like they're getting a newer version of Vegas without paying full Summerlin pricing. And the really interesting part is, this side of Las Vegas still feels like it's just getting started. The crazy part is, Skye Canyon may still be early, and that's what has a lot of people paying attention to the Northwest Las Vegas area right now. Because when you drive around this side of town, you can feel that it's still growing. New retail shops keep showing up, new home communities are still being built, roads and infrastructure and continue just expanding, and then there's still a ton of open land compared to more built out parts of the valley. That's why a lot of people look at Northwest Vegas and feel like they're getting into an area before it fully matures. And no, I'm not saying Skye Canyon is magically becoming the next Summerlin overnight, but the comparison just comes up constantly because people remember what Summerlin felt like years before it became the most established and expensive master plan communities in Las Vegas. Back then, people thought Summerlin was way out there too, right? Now look at it. And that's the part, of what makes Skye Canyon interesting right now. The area already feels established enough where the people here can comfortably live there today, but at the same time, it still feels like there's another phase of growth coming into the entire northwest side of the valley. You're already seeing more restaurants, shopping centers, gyms, grocery stores, and supporting businesses continue moving further northwest because the population growth keeps following it. There are also future plans for additional schools in the area, continued retail expansion, and even long-term plans tied to a future Station Casinos resort project in Skye Canyon area. And that part gets people talking, because if you know Las Vegas, you know Station Casinos usually follows rooftops and long-term population growth. They don't randomly hold large pieces of land for no reason. Right now, there's no official construction timeline for a casino resort out there, but Red Rock Resorts does own land in the area. Station Casinos, but Red Rock is owned by Station, right, for future project. That alone tells a lot of people how much long-term growth the Northwest Valley is expected to see. And the reality is Las Vegas keeps expanding outward. More people relocating here every year, and a lot of the newer development naturally pushes towards the edges of the valley where there's still room to build. That's why some people are looking at Skye Canyon today and thinking, if this area already feels like this established now, what's it going to look like 5 or 10 years from now? Because Northwest Vegas today could look very different a decade from now. And whether people personally love Skye Canyon or not, almost everybody agrees on one thing at this point. Northwest Las Vegas is no longer flying under the radar. Here's who actually ends up loving Skye Canyon. and who realizes pretty quickly it's not for them. Because a neighborhood is popular doesn't mean it fits your lifestyle. The people happiest in Skye Canyon are usually the ones who want some separation from the city. They like quieter mornings, mountain views, park trails, newer homes, and not dealing with nonstop traffic and chaos just every single day. These are the people perfectly happy grabbing coffee from Aspire, taking the dog to the park, and driving up to Mount Charleston, hitting a trail, or going to Costco and calling it a good weekend. Families tend to love it. Remote workers love it too because they're not commuting across the valley every day, right? So they don't have to worry about that. Military families and people relocating from crowded cities usually connect with the newer homes, community feel, and overall pace of the area pretty quickly. But, there's the other side to this. Some people move to Las Vegas because they want constant energy around them. Restaurants, nightlife, walkability, quick strip access, casinos, events, right? They want to feel in the middle of everything. And those people sometimes move to Skye Canyon, and after a few months, they start thinking, okay, this might be a little too far out because this is not Vegas nightlife energy. This is neighbors outside walking dogs, washing trucks in the driveway, and talking at the park, while the sun goes down. Completely just different vibe. And, that's where a lot of people make mistakes when moving to Vegas. They choose neighborhoods based on what sounds exciting instead of how they actually live day to day. Because every area has trade-offs. The people happiest in Skye Canyon usually are not trying to escape into Vegas. They're trying to escape parts of Vegas. Skye Canyon isn't just changing where people live in Las Vegas, it's changing why people move here in the first place. For a long time, Vegas was all about the strip, nightlife, casinos, and nonstop energy, but a lot of people moving here now are looking for something different. The newer communities, everything we've been talking about, right? With the cleaner neighborhoods, the views, and a lifestyle that feels a little more balanced day to day. And that's why Skye Canyon keeps forcing its way into the conversation of the best suburb in Las Vegas, right? Not because it's perfect, not because it's for everybody, but because for the right person, this lifestyle just clicks. A lot of people are realizing they're not moving to Vegas for the strip anymore. They're moving here for quality of life. If you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, trying to narrow down neighborhoods, or just wondering which part of the city actually fits your lifestyle, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Ryan, and our team here, right, we are available anytime. Right? I'm also a local Las Vegas realtor, and this is what we do every single day. We help people relocating to Vegas figure out which communities actually match the way they want to live so they don't end up in the wrong part of town. And don't feel weird about reaching out either. Most people who contact us are just starting the process, asking questions, or trying to make sense of all the different areas around Vegas. Right? So whether you're moving in 30 days, 6 months, or you're still just exploring the idea, we're always happy to help. However we can, just be a real resource for you throughout the process, right? We also have a QR code on the screen that you can scan if you want me to reach out to you when it's convenient for you, because maybe you're like, I don't know about reaching this guy on YouTube. That's okay. Fill out the form. I will reach out to you, all right? And when it's convenient for you, okay? Now, last thing is if you're not ready yet, that's completely okay too. Most people watching these videos, like I said, they're still in research mode, and that's the smartest place to start. There's plenty of videos on this channel. Just keep exploring. We got community tours coming, home tours, relocation videos, and everything else that helps paint the real picture of what it's like actually living in Las Vegas, and those are going to start popping up on your screen for you right now.